Hi, I'm Shannon Steimel. I'm the Library Media Specialist and Tech Committee Chair at Live for Life Academy, a charter school in St. Louis, and I hope you're ready for your tech makeover. So the first thing we want to think about when we're talking about tech is it comfortable or cutting edge? So what are the tools that are most comfortable for you when it comes to tech? I know for me, the G Suite products, all things Google, are very comfortable. So is comfortable bad? Not necessarily. When you think about a pair of jeans, for instance, it can be a classic, something that you can wear for years and still look like you're in fashion. And sometimes when you try those cutting edge looks, like the acid wash lady here on the right, those can go out of style very, very quickly. And unless there's a resurgence in 80s fashion, she's gonna look outdated. I can give you a good example of a tool that was once very cutting edge that no one uses anymore. It would seem outdated. So let's think about a tool like PowerPoint that is a presentation tool, or for Google Schools, of course, think about Slides, which has the basic functionality. Is that a classic or is it outdated? I think a lot of what the answer to that question is depends on how you use it. Check out part of this video, that's pretty funny.
There's some things I hate about PowerPoint, and I figure it's kind of my duty to point them out. So here we go. Here's common PowerPoint mistakes. Number one, people tend to put every word they are going to say on their PowerPoint slides. Although this eliminates the need to memorize your talk, ultimately this makes your slides crowded, wordy, and boring. You will lose your audience's attention before you even reach the bottom of your first slide.
So you get the idea there. You should watch the rest of the video when you get a chance, so it's pretty funny. So is cutting edge always better? So this dress here, it is actually 3D printed, and the arms move and sense you and can actually kind of attack someone who might come too close. So that might not be the best fashion choice to wear. And I think an example of a presentation tool that seemed cutting edge when it first came out, but is now considered outdated and hardly ever anyone uses it anymore, is Prezi. And I think part of that is because Prezi can make you sick with all the zooming. So another just funny video that's kind of a play on the death by PowerPoint. So how do you find those tools that are comfortable, cutting edge, somewhere in the middle? You're talking those fashion forward kind of tools. So when we're thinking about actual fashion, we would look at Cameron. She is not necessarily out there in sweats, but she's not exactly wearing the 3D dress either, but she always looks great, and she gets put into fashion magazines all the time because of this. So here's an example of what I would say is a fashion forward presentation tool. If you haven't tried it out, you should check out Powtoons. So, you know, that looks pretty cool animation, like it would be hard to do, but it's actually kind of just like putting a presentation together with some cool twists to it. So that's something you might think about if you were wanting to update the presentation tools that you and your students use. Here are some other things that you could check out. Slides Carnival, by the way, is actually just a slides add-on, but it gives you some pretty cool themes to kind of freshen up the look of your slides. So when you're thinking about updating your tech, the thing that you want to do is not go crazy and try out every new thing that you hear of. Just selecting one good new piece of tech to try is good. Just like with your wardrobe, you would break the bank if you went out and bought every new fashion and then it's going to just go out of style. But you might go out and buy a jacket or a cardi that's in that latest fall fashion color, for instance, and that would help update your wardrobe on top of your classic pieces. So when you're thinking about adopting some new tech tools, what are the questions you should ask yourself to evaluate that tool about whether you should use them or not? So the first thing you want to think about is, what's the occasion? In other words, what student outcome will this tool or app help you accomplish? And if you can't answer that question, then that's a problem. You don't want to just use tech for tech's sake. The next thing you want to think about is it well designed and intuitive for the user? You want the learning curve, or you don't want the learning curve to ever be greater than the payoff. So, Steve Jobs is known for his intuitive design. And so he's kind of my standard when I'm looking at tech tools. Not to say that only Apple products are what works for me. The other thing is, even if it is pretty well designed, you may still have questions. So does it have guides, tutorials, help sections, or tech support that you can contact for when you are confused about the tools? Does it work well or the same with multiple devices? Even if you're at a one-to-one school, it's still good to know and makes it more versatile if you can also use it on your phone or on a tablet, and if it's not either Android or Apple specific. So that's another thing to always think about. Does it allow for collaboration between users? Very important. Collaboration is, of course, one of those key skills that we talk about with students for 21st century. Does it integrate well with other tools? I love when I can sign on to something with my Google, but of course it goes beyond that. There's a lot of tools and apps that will work well with Google Classroom, for instance, and so if it can do that, then that's already going to be a bonus for me. This is a big one when we're thinking about the SAMR model, which we often do at our academy when we're thinking about tech use. We always want to have the tech that we're using with our students not just be a substitution, but truly allow them to do something they couldn't do without it. So for instance, something like Bitmoji allows me to represent myself in a drawing much better than the stick figure that I could draw myself. The next question you should ask yourself is, does it offer advantages over a similar product you're already using? So when I first came to Live for Life Academy, I had been used to using Schoology at my old school, but a lot of the teachers that were here at the time used Edmodo. And so even though I liked Schoology better, I went ahead and started using Edmodo because I didn't want the kids to have to get used to another new tool when there was one that was already working. Well, now with us being a Google school, all of us mostly use Google Classroom or the Google products as the kids' landing base. The next question you want to ask is it free or low cost, or at the least, does it offer a free trial? Or is it freemium? It's the free basic product, and then you can pay extra if you want some of the extras. If it's not free, is it at least worth the expense? Maybe you want to invest a little extra money for something that you know is going to be a great tool if you have the money to invest. And the last question you want to ask is, what can the students create with this tool? Student creation is very important, and so not that every tool that you use has to have it, but for me, it's a definite plus if I can say yes to this question. So don't get overwhelmed. When you're thinking about what tech tools to adopt, you want to really think about what are those things that are going to move the needle for learning in your classroom. That's what Matt Miller says anyway. So back in the last century, Donna Karan came up with this idea of 7 easy pieces that you could mix and match your wardrobe basics and get a lot of outfits just out of a few pieces. That was updated more recently to the French 5. And so you would curate your wardrobe and get quality basics, and you would limit the new additions to only once a season. This saves time, and it also stands the test of passing fads. So my idea is to turn this into the Tech 5 of curating your own tech wardrobe. So if you think of the 5 types of pieces of tech that you want to have some tools to help you instruct, to create, to assess, to collaborate, and to communicate. So here's my Tech 5. I have just 1 or 2 go-to items in each of these categories that help me to do what I need to do with technology. So for instance, when I'm presenting, I use Google Slides a lot, but I also use Screencastify to record screencasts like this one. When it comes to collaborating, I love Padlet, and it's always my go-to tool, even though I might know of other ones. And my big communication tool for putting out information is WordPress with my blog, but I also use Twitter a lot, both for getting information out and getting information in that I need from my PLN. So I'd like you to think about, what area do you think you need to build your tech wardrobe first? So if you pick just one of these and then explore the tools, hopefully you'll find one or two that you'd like to try. So you can see here are some tools that will help you instruct, especially if you're thinking about doing blended learning or flipped learning. Here are some great creation tools that you and your students can try. Here are some tools to help you do assessment, particularly formative assessment. Here are some great collaboration tools. And here are some tools to help you communicate. So I hope you'll go back to these and pick one category to explore so that you can add to your tech wardrobe. So if you don't have me here giving you advice on which tools to try, how are you going to find those new tech trends? So when you're following fashion trends, you can read Vogue, you can follow a fashion blog, you can read about coverage of Fashion Week. So what's the tech equivalent of that? Well, first of all, here's some great tools that you can use to find out what the top tools are. You can click on these links and see year-to-year lists from the first two links. And then if you just want to connect with some tech-forward people, there's some great advice about getting on Twitter, which I really advise. If you're looking for tech trendsetters to follow, here are the 4 that I would recommend. They are all really great to general tech advice. Alice Keeler in particular is great if you love Google. That's where her focus. If you're really interested in free tools, I would definitely go with Free Tech for Teachers. And the other 2 are just, I really get a lot of great tips from them as well. So let me ask you this, which would you rather shop? Now, if you have a little bit of money and a lot of time, you might be willing and able to find something great on the right in the thrift store. But when you're thinking about merchandising for your students to help them get to the tech that they need, you really want to think about having organization. So if you read this article, it's a really good one from a student's perspective of what it's like to be at a school where there's a lot of technology integration. And one of the big takeaways that I took from this article is that it's important to have all your information in one place. You don't want to scatter it around all the different apps. Not to say that you can't use different apps, but you want to have one spot that your students always know to go to. If we're going to do something online, we're always starting in Google Classroom, or if we're doing something online, the information's always going to be on my Google site. So whatever that choice is, you want to make sure it's consistent for the students. So here are some ideas. And again, you don't want to choose all of these. You really just want to choose one to be your landing point. So I hope that you have gotten some great tools and tips today to become fashion forward with your technology integration. So I hope you're ready to start exploring those options for your makeover. Thanks.